You know those clients that just can't get enough of you. They attend all your stuff. They buy all your services. They're raving fans. I call those lifers. And so does this week's podcast guest. He is an expert at retention inside of your coaching business. And I'm so excited to let him bring you all of these nuggets about what it means to increase client retention and client referrals so that you truly create lifelong fans of your work. Hello, coaches. Welcome to another episode of the Best Damn Coach podcast. Before we went live, I was just professing my gratitude to Robert because I'm super honored today to have Robert Skrob on the show. He is the author of Retention Point. I'm going to if you're watching on YouTube right now, this is the book. We're going to talk a little bit about it. Do you see this? I even have all my sticky notes in here from notes I took. But I'm just grateful and honored when I can have authors on the show and experts who really have influenced the way I take care of my clients. And I just know that you're going to serve the audience so well today. So thank you for joining us.
Amanda, it's an absolute honor to be on the best. I mean, I've been on a whole bunch of other podcasts, but never the Best Damn podcast. So it's about time.
Yep.
Thank you for having me. Something that I certainly appreciate and aspire to.
Yeah, well,
and actually,
Yeah.
I think what we should do is set out the intention that today is going to be the best damn podcast.
You know it, the best episode ever, because truthfully, I think what you talk about is pretty critical to business success. And so I don't think you're wrong. So you guys grab your pen and paper because I think there's going to be a lot of really important, tangible nuggets that come from this. And eventually we'll give all the links in the show notes, but you're definitely going to want to go pick up a copy of Robert's book. I tell so many people about it. But let's give some context to the conversation. I don't love to do like generic bios, but if you could just give us kind of a mini storytelling version of how did you become a retention expert? I know you travel the world working with so many companies. Tell us about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I graduated from Florida State University in 1993 with a degree in accounting, and becoming a CPA. Was in public accounting 3.5 months and hated it. Took a job as a bookkeeper for a company that consulted with nonprofit associations. Ended up buying it 5 years later, and right at the cusp of the internet, just as Ask Jeeves and these webs, the internet was taking over what associations did. And I started studying direct response copywriting and really applied that to, the 38 associations I was responsible for between our clients and our consulting clients. And it did all their membership marketing, sponsorship sales, exhibit sales, getting registrants to conferences, and used those direct response skills, and then came along and discovered Dan Kennedy and the whole world of information marketing, and applied that information marketing coaching model within nonprofits. And around 2003, I had built a relationship, started sharing some of my material with Dan Kennedy. And he said, you ought to really start sharing what you're doing with nonprofits, with for-profits. And I was like, oh, all I'm doing is taking what your model and applying it. He's like, yes, exactly. But then around 2004 was really the cusp when monthly continuity started taking off.
Yeah.
And up until then, if you did an offer for a monthly subscription, even though it was technically possible, customers really didn't like it. You'd get a lot of hate comments about, I don't want to be stuck on monthly payments. And it was really 2004 when those offers for monthly payments started outperforming other offers for annual or for buying a product outright. And I really went, really full into working with a bunch of for-profit coaches, for-profit subscription businesses, and actually built a subscription myself, working and helping model those organizations until about 2012 when I sold that company. Was casting around for what else to do, and started consulting with some of the largest for-profit subscription businesses in the world. And what I found out is while they understand how to scale and market and maybe create ads and, even create great sales funnels, back to the extent that they had good funnels in that day, they didn't understand how to build relationships at scale, which was something that I had learned within the nonprofit world. And, kind of what I've found since is, I'm working with, billion-dollar worldwide subscription brands to subscription startups, and certainly still work with several large coaching businesses. And, I'm constantly bridging those values and relationship building that I learned in the nonprofit world together with that kind of hardcore direct response, trackable conversion rate marketing that I learned in the direct response world. And that by putting those together, it's really way more powerful than the pieces separate from each other. And that's really been my superpower, is kind of like being like the little bee that goes around and takes this from the subscription box and then gives that to the publisher, and gives the publishers, takes the best publisher ideas and helps implement that with the subscription box, and helps coaches create, instead of trying to track down new clients all the time, how to grow a practice by building a community and a group of clients that love them, really a following more so than even than the stream of recurring revenue.
It's so good. And it's like, as you're talking, like, he's so ahead of his time, right? The world is catching up now a little bit. But I have so many questions to break it down for our listenership who, like I mentioned before, most are kind of just emerging, starting out, aren't sure what kind of business model is for them. So I would love, because you use the word membership often in your book, that's kind of your expertise, but what does membership mean to you? Because I think nowadays, when I hear the word membership, or when I talk to my coaches, most of them are associating membership with a low ticket experience that's maybe a Facebook group and, a couple calls. But I think that the word membership is very robust. So what does it mean to you specifically?
Really, any ongoing relationship. One of my mentors back in 2005 his name is Bill Glazer, and brilliant man, and love him dearly. And one of the things that he taught was, lots of business people work to make a sale in order to get a transaction, and that the smartest business people work to make a sale to set up a series of transactions. And you could sell a one-off consulting project. You could sell a package of consulting months, but why not set up a relationship that auto-renews, that by its nature automatically continues until the customer is interested in canceling that. And what you find is that the value per transaction, the lifetime value of the subscriber, could be 3, 4, 12, 15 times what a one-off sale could be otherwise. And I throw out, a lot of people will make a distinction between membership and subscription, and I really see both as creating a relationship, that there's something in it for the customer beyond simply getting some stuff at a cheaper price. Yeah. And whenever you're trying to kind of price arbitrage by being cheaper and getting it in there, maybe below something price point where they may not notice it on their on their online bank statement, and then choose not to cancel it because it just doesn't come to their attention, I find that those business models are a bunch of garbage. They seem to work for a while, and it seems like those folks are geniuses. It doesn't take long, and they're off, promoting the next craze. Selling NFTs or Chat GPT or worksheets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what makes you special and unique though, is it's everything about what you speak to is relationship focused, and the client is at the center of that, which definitely speaks to my heart. And as you
Oh.
say in the book, and as you know, I've learned from, many mentors, is the best client is the client that's already yours, right? And so really what we're trying to say is how do we just make that experience so profound from them the moment they say yes, so that they keep wanting to be a part of our community? And the thought really is never like, oh, I'm ready to cancel. It's like, this is so amazing in here.
Mhm.
And I'm feeling seen and heard, that there's continuity, inside the container, whatever that looks like.
And that's a great point about it starting with the member, the subscriber, and that's really my superpower. And if there is one thing that I bring to a coaching, my clients or somebody at my seminar, or people that I'm working with, it's a really profound perspective of the customer. And the mistake that most coaches make when they are trying to consider creating a membership is what they're going to deliver. They're like, oh, what is the stuff? What could I deliver for $99? What could I deliver for $1,000 a month? What could I deliver for $5,000? What does the person get for $1,000 a month? And they're crafting calls, they're crafting, trying to put together a stack where they go, okay, well, this is worth X dollars, that's worth
Mm-hmm.
Y dollars, that's worth Z dollars, and together that's worth this much, and the price is only that much per month, and so let's go get them. And that, as long as you're focusing on you and what you deliver, that offer is going to fall flat. And one of the things that, one of the choices that I made in 2012 was to position myself as a retention expert. And that's hence the book, Retention Point. And a lot of people come to me and think, oh, okay, I want to fix my retention. What do I do? And of course, I'll often talk about, you got to increase the number of new subscribers, plus decrease your churn rate equals, larger recurring revenue. But the fact is that increasing the number of new subscribers and decreasing your churn rate are really the same thing.
Mm.
And the key is with the offer. And when you have a compelling offer that feels like it delivers some very quick value, that is engineered to foster a ongoing relationship, and that delivers on its promises, then you're going to sell more. People are going to talk about you. People are going to refer you. Your subscribers aren't going to want to quit, and you're going to be a lot more successful. And all that starts by thinking first, who am I going to serve? What of all the types of people do I kind of connect best with? And then what do they really need? And how can I serve them in a way that nobody else does? And how would that look? What are their problems? What are the solutions that they're looking for? And how can I get my ego out of the way and like stop thinking about what I would want? Like, stop thinking about what you would want in their situation. Think about what they want in their situation, and create an offer that delivers that, and you'll be far more successful than anything else. And
So good.
coming in thinking about the customer first, it just is really a superpower that will help you in all your marketing and your coaching too.
Totally. It's funny. Prior to the recording of this, I bring on a listener once a month and I coach them. And this particular person was like, I wanted coaching around all of her courses she was about to release. And so she's telling me all this course offers, quote unquote, all this stuff. And I just simply said, hey, have you asked your people what they want? And she kind of looked at me like dumbfounded, like, no. And I think it's such a simple thing that we overlook. We've got all these amazing ideas. We're seeing what other people are. We fall into this comparison trap of what is right, what it should look like, instead of just getting our hands dirty, getting on a call with a group of clients or potential clients or listeners or whatever the case is, and just saying like, what are your needs? What are your real struggles day to day? And then facilitate the build out of whatever you're dreaming of with them in mind first. So just such a simple strategy for those of you listening, like start simple, get some people on a call, super informal. I mean, it doesn't take much to really feel seen and heard. And then your people are a part of the process and engineering the process. And so there's intense buy-in to the product as you build it out and launch it.
I love it. 100%.
So let's talk retention point. Again, I'm going to plug in the book here for those of you watching. What does retention point mean specifically?
Yeah, I swiped it from a term that I found in Netflix's data, and I didn't know this until I had seen this information. But when you're watching Netflix, Netflix is watching you, and they're tracking. If you open up the show Orange is the New Black, and you're watching a few episodes, they're recording you and your name and how you're tracking along on that progress. And what I discovered in looking in that data is Netflix highly analyzes who starts their television series and who finishes. And what they found was that there became a point in each series at which point that 70% of the viewers of that episode would finish the entire series. And I don't know if you get to a point where you're watching a show with your husband and you don't want to stop. You're like, oh, just one more episode, just one more. Oh man, this is so good. We just got to watch one more. And
right
maybe you can finish it over the course of a few weeks, but what they called that was the hooked point. And what they did once they sort of discovered that there was this point at which it would happen, then they would start to break down what happened in the episode that led to that hooked point. Was there a new twist? Was there had they just introduced a new character? Did they go deeper into the introduction of a single character? It was what precipitated and led up to the point at which that you had an audience where 70% of which went on to finish the entire series. And they analyzed all their shows up to that point, and it really got me thinking. It's like, okay, well, every subscription business has those subscribers that you just cannot get rid of. There's certainly listeners of the Best Damn Coaching podcast that comment on every episode. God bless you. And they buy your products. They're the first ones to buy. The names come back around, and I'm like, I saw Alex's name yesterday. I'm like, yep, I should have known you'd be there. And thank you very much. I'm sure you've got your folks that are just absolute, true, Best Damn Coaching podcasts, diehards, and we love you all. And how can we make more of them? Because what happens most of the time is that businesses kind of take them for granted and maybe even get a little irritated. That's like, oh gosh, you again. I want others like you, not only you. But it's like, all right, what is it that gets somebody to the point that they love the Best Damn Coach podcast? What is it that they've heard? What is it that they've experienced? What is it that they were able to implement as a result? And let's really kind of back into what is the trigger that makes somebody love you so much that they're going to dive in, listen to every episode, and buy everything that you offer. And also buy all the books you hold up too, hopefully. And when you start to think that way, it really completely changes everything you deliver, certainly the courses you go to offer and the offers you write. Because now when you are creating an offer for someone to buy a product, you're thinking in terms of what is it that's going to trigger somebody to be a lifelong fan. And part of that too is probably some tiered pricing, because and by offering tiers, it sort of unlocks this idea that I got to give everything to everybody, and be, like, even at the big buffets, if there was like a light buffet, I can't get my wife to go to big buffets. Let's go to this big Mother's Day buffet. She's like, oh my God, it's $35. I'm not going to eat $35 worth of food. It's like, but it's $35 because it's Mother's Day and it's a sweet thing, and they'll have flowers on the table and they play light music, and it will be a nice, fun thing for us and our families. And I don't have to cook on Mother's Day. So it doesn't really matter what it costs. It's worth it. And she's like, but I'm not going to eat $35 worth. So, but if your subscribers are often feeling that same thing. They see your offer, they see all the wonderful things that you're going to deliver for the price, and they're like, nah, I'm not really good enough for that. I don't really need that. And it's not because you aren't delivering the most amazing thing. It's that it's so much that you're delivering, they don't feel that they can consume it. And so by offering tiers and allowing there to be a less expensive tier with much more limited services, and having a place for those massive amount of people who would want that, and then allowing other subscribers to move up a couple of tiers and pay more and receive more, then you're a lot. It really changes the algorithms, because you're focused on, all right, how do I get people to be fans? And the way I get them to be is, first, I got to give them something they want, and I can't overwhelm them. But I need to give them something really cool that they think is fast and it's going to give them quick results. Like, okay. And then, okay. But then there's these other people, and before they become really fans, they kind of become needy. And so as they become needy, I need to give them a price point that pays me enough to make me happy to deal with their neediness, and to give them everything that they want, and make sure that they receive the very best of the service, because then they're going to be my biggest fans. And so by tweaking that and focusing on how do we get folks to be raving fans, that then translates, and it helps us figure out all the steps along the way.
I love that so much. Yeah, 100%. I mean, just like boiling it to simple, it's like, it's that threshold where they move from that fan to that super fandom. And there is a point for all of us in which that exists. And it's our job to figure out what that is or why that is. And that's, I think, the fun. I always talk about being a scientist of your business. And for me, that's where I geek out, is like, why is this happening? And what can I do with this information to double down on my strengths, instead of having to chase, other opportunities that may not actually work for me.
And one more, I think, kind of one more bigger the retention point was made so it could be read in 90 minutes. And so it delivers, I feel, some valuable things and important things, but I didn't get it. I did get into all the details because it would have been a much thicker book, but the kind of the overreaching idea is that particularly in your coaching business, the only asset in your business are your clients. And if like you had, a pile of cash sitting here, like you would really like think, all right, how do I protect it? How do I make sure it doesn't disappear? How do I help it grow? And that's what you do with your assets, is you nurture them. And so many business owners, particularly coaches, think like maybe their coaching expertise is their asset, or their products are their asset, or maybe the sales letter they paid $1 billion for some hotshot copywriter to write is their asset, or their ability to do product launches is their asset. And really, the clients are the only asset. And what you want, by really taking your attention off of all that other stuff and focusing first on your clients and growing their value, then you have your attention in the right place, and you're going to be able to, really going to be able to make whatever you want.
That's so good. I love that visual. That like such a powerful metaphor because it's so true. It's like you got $1 million in cash, you're doing whatever to protect it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly really what the potential is for our clients.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to go into a specific
Sure.
diagram from the book that that really struck me. And you give this kind of bell curve in the book. I'm reading it right now, referencing page 133 for those of you that are going to go out and grab retention point, which by the way, I read on a 2-hour plane ride. So nailed it on that 90-minute
Nice.
consumption.
Good
Boom.
job.
And that's actually what I say to people. Oh, it's so great. You're going to get so much value and you could like read it on a quick flight. So you can add that into your marketing somewhere. But really, you're talking about what happens when people meet you. So remember, our clients are going to discover us at some point, right? They heard us on a podcast, much like you're going to hear today, Robert. And so this is your first kind of opportunity to get to know his content. And you'll be like, I want more of Robert. So you go buy his book potentially, or listen to him on other shows, consume his content. And then at some point, our customers, right, are going to decide like, I want to go deeper with that person. And you join a membership or buy into their program. And this is kind of the pinnacle, if you will, or the top of this bell curve that we're talking about. But this is where it goes wrong for many people is you think that the job is done once they've hit purchase. And so I know what I used to do. And after reading your book, I transitioned is like, okay, I'm going to send them 55 things that they need to do and these intake forms, blah, 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 blah. Or they get into, here's where I see people go wrong often is they send them into these portals without really a framework. By the way, that's my zone of genius is framework building. And so they get lost in these in these modules that have no coherent roadmap. They don't really have like, oh, which way should I be going? And so what you start to point out in the book is that now they've hit overwhelm. They've kind of become like, oh, should I have done this? It's like a little bit of buyer's remorse feeling. And then they begin to slide down on the backside of the curve potentially into this like really questioning whether this was the right bit or making excuses, frustration about why this isn't for them. And then sometimes they go into this complete avoidance space because they're just like, I feel like shame because I'm not doing the work. And then this opportunity we had to really build a raving fan for life has totally dissipated. I love this diagram so much because I mean, I knew it intuitively, but I realized my opportunity was at the top of the bell. So that relationship could continue in an exponential way instead of sliding down the back. So I went to my team and I was like, this is the diagram. What are we going to do to make sure that our clients never fall onto the backside? And so I really think that this one diagram, just plug for you, was extremely impactful. And just the visual, like, you know, you hear it from you hear it different ways. But when I saw this, it's like, this is our mission. Our mission is to not experience this bell curve. So I love to just maybe have a conversation, or maybe you could share just like the one or two things that tangibly we can do to make sure we don't have customers sliding down the backside.
No, thank you for that. I actually, as you were talking about it, it reminded me, I created that in July of 2016 on a flight from Atlanta to San Francisco. And I was there with my wife and kids, and our flight into Atlanta was late, and we had to rush to go get on the other flight, and there wasn't time to get a meal, and we were starving. And the kids were starving and cranky. And so I was just put everything I had into the, thinking of that chart. Maybe I was on the backside of the disappointment curve. I don't know, Amanda, have you ever maybe bought something from Amazon and then 2 days later, there's, a box on your doorstep and you're like, what the heck is that box? I don't remember ordering anything. And then you open it up and it's like, oh, that's right. I ordered this. And it's almost like a gift to yourself because you forgot you ordered it. And now you're a customer. I think it's important to remember that, our customers, they may buy something from us and join a subscription on Tuesday. And then by Thursday, have forgotten us. It's hard to imagine. How could they forget so quickly? But they do. and then maybe they get busy with something else, because like most of the time when somebody buys from us, it could be a $2,000 course, or it could be a $500 course, or it could be a $50 a month subscription, or a $200 a month subscription. And we're so excited about that new customer. We send them an email with their user ID and login. And they have all the best intentions of getting around, the customer has all the best intentions of getting around to that. And then 2 days later, they don't even remember why they bought it. Mm-hmm. And then maybe somebody asks them about this recurring charge on their credit card. Like, oh, I don't know what that is. Or they're like, oh yeah, no, forget it, cancel it, because they've lost contact. And the key thing is you've got to move the finish line. And instead of thinking of the finish line at the point that you get the customer, think of the finish line at 60 or 90 days later. And if you had to get that customer to make that buying decision 90 days from now, what would you do over the next 90 days to make that experience special, so that by the time you get there, maybe the customer's actually bought 3 or 4 other things that you also offer. Maybe that customer has actually upgraded a level or 2. But if not, the customer loves what they are getting and they want to continue as a subscriber. And that by moving that finish line in your own mind, what I found is that I've looked at hundreds of retention reports and dove into numbers of companies, large and small. And for the most part, almost every single time, what I find is that within the first year, they're losing somewhere between 50 and 70% of the subscribers that they were able to recruit to begin with. And that varies depending on what the offer is and what the market and those types of things. But of those people they lose in the first year, half of them are actually lost in the first 3 months. And then within the first 3 months, the numbers, the subscribers they lose during that time, half are lost in the first month. And so often I talk to companies and they're like, oh, well, we have an 8% churn rate. And so that means our subscribers stay an average of 12 months. So what we do is we really ramp up at month 9 and 10 and really work to delight them. But when you show them their numbers, by the time, yes, the average at an 8% churn rate does average out to a lifespan of 12 months. But when you look really at the numbers, most of the subscribers quit in the first 3 months. And that's the golden hour. Mm-hmm. And if you can really embrace that idea that your subscribers really aren't subscribers for 60 or 90 days, and that like, all right, how can we engineer our onboarding so that we're delighting them? We are maybe giving them bonuses as they renew each month, maybe continuing to roll out new things, like, they don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of listeners who have listened to every best damn coaching podcast throughout history, but maybe they don't remember the awesome one you did, a year and a half ago. And that can be now a bonus or clips from it, or maybe, some, abbreviation along with some handout that could be used to delight your new paid customers, because you're taking information and making it more useful, more accessible, and helping them implement it. And that it helps you continue that relationship building at scale with all your new subscribers. So that's the real key, is move that finish line instead of thinking in terms of right here at the customer acquisition and then, pat ourselves on the back, let's, ring the bell and be excited. Instead, ring the bell at 90 days.
Yeah.
That's
good.
That now you've really got something.
So good. As we round out, I love to leave our listeners with action, like some sort of super tangible. I mean, you kind of nailed it, move that finish line. But if there were one tip you feel like our coaches listening would benefit from when it comes to that retention point or just customer experience or renewal, whatever your perspective is, what is the one thing that they could like do now that would change up the game for their client base and really keeping those clients as assets?
The fastest way to grow your subscription revenue is to really focus first on what is the single fastest way that you can have a positive impact on the customer. What is the least that they have to do that can have them experience a massive breakthrough? And let's front load your offer and say, hey, on this 2 pages, we're going to give you the absolute secret to increasing your number of new subscribers and keeping them longer. And you're going to be able to implement it within 5 minutes or less, and have it working for you by tomorrow. And that's what you get for free when you join the Be Unleavable subscription program or whatever it is. And by having that type of offer, what it does is it increases the number of new subscribers you're going to get. And then 2, it also sets up the onboarding. And so now when you deliver your onboarding, which is this 2 pages or whatever the fast implementation thing is, they come in wanting the thing that you've just promised as part of the offer, which then sets up the positive reinforcement loop that's going to help you get them engaged on the second thing that they need to do in order to experience a positive result. And then the third thing, so that by the time they've done 3 things, they're a subscriber for life. Yeah. And by waving that thing in front of them, this golden ticket thing that's going to give them an immediate benefit, you improve your offer conversion rate, you improve your engagement, and you improve your retention.
So good. I just hear the words like immediate ROI, quick win. How do we give them immediate ROI and a massively quick win? Absolutely. So they're like, yes, this was the best investment. Let's have more of it for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful for you. And I know our listeners are as well. We mentioned the book. So can you tell us about where they can pick up a copy of Retention Point, where they can connect with you, anything else that you want to share with them before we jump
Absolutely. Grab a copy of the book. I don't know, I've sold like 15,000 copies of that book. It's pretty remarkable. So grab a copy. It's got lots of stars. You'll love it. And also, if you want to know more about me, you could beunleavable.com is a website with some more information, products or what have you. And you can also contact me if you have any questions. And as Amanda found, I'm accessible. It's actually me. And so if you need something or you have a question, reach out, and happy to help.
Awesome. Everything that Robert just shared will be in the show notes, of course. And I'm going to encourage all of you listening, like, what's the one thing that you can go take into where you are right now, meet yourself where you're at in your business, and put that into immediate action? As every single episode, we can consume, but the reality is it's the implementation where we need the greatest support. So just take that moment to reflect on where you are at and all the goodness that he shared today. So
that's good.
Thank
coaching,
you for joining.
Amanda. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Robert, it was a joy. Thank you for all the genius that you shared. And we are so grateful for you.
Amanda, it's an honor. Thank you for having me.